Welcome to episode 4 of the Selling with Lori show. Today, we have a fantastic lineup focusing on financial well-being and also the heart of the Pasadena community. First, we'll be speaking with financial expert Michael Harris to discuss practical strategies for managing debt, whether it's student loans, car payments, or mortgages, so you can take full control of your financial future. Then, in our business spotlight, we'll visit a true community gem, Fair Oaks Burger. For nearly 4 decades, this family-owned restaurant has served up not just great food, but also a strong sense of community. And we'll sit down with co-owner Janet Lee to hear about the restaurant's journey, their deep community ties, and how they stepped up to help residents and first responders during the recent Eaton fire. And to bring this episode to life, we'll take a deeper look at the community through exclusive footage provided by Everything Pasadena Media. So let's dive in. And today, we're sitting down with financial expertise, Michael Harris, to discuss practical ways to approach debt management and create a strong financial foundation. So Michael, thank you for being here. I always love getting insights from you. So you've been helping people with financial needs for years. Can you share a little bit about your background and what inspired you to focus on, the financial side of education? Because I feel like that's so important because there's so much stuff out there. How do you know what is what?
Yeah, a lot of it's not covered in school, but my background, I started in the 1980s, and I was a business econ major out of college. And my idea was always helping people understand. A lot of people didn't really have the right approach, in my opinion, because it wasn't practical. It was kind of theoretical. It was teaching people, but it wasn't being able to be applied. So I got started in the mortgage lending industry, and that's where I am today. I'm in my 38th year in lending. In doing that, I'm helping people take the largest step in their lives by financing a home. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is financing a large debt. Yes, you have an asset, but you have a debt. You're paying off a 30-year loan or whatever the case may be. And the way the banks have it, you have a bank's plan. And what they're doing is they're doing it all kind of odd and peculiar. And we'll go over that today. But my thought was, back in the day before technology was there, we had territories. So my territory was South Pasadena, San Marino, and Arcadia. And I'd come out here in this area and educate realtors. And I'd go out in the field, drive out and do that and learn the business, but help educate one homeowner at a time. And something I like to say now is I can't change the world, but I could change the world for one person. So that's kind of the direction. But in doing that, I've learned an awful lot, and we're always learning. But it's a question of taking that knowledge out to other people and having their journey start.
Yes. And debt is something most people deal with at some point in their life, whether it's, school loans, car payments, or even homeownership. So what are some common mistakes that people make when trying to manage their debt?
Well, back in the day, it used to be when you're in college, you get that offer for steak knives and you go get that credit card, and just because you have a credit card, you must have some money to spend. So you get into debt. And then all of a sudden you got mom and dad needing to rescue because all of a sudden they have all this debt they didn't understand because no one showed them how to use the credit card properly. And one of the things about debt and doing it properly is being on the right side of the debt. When you borrow on your credit card, you're borrowing the bank's money or the financial services company's money for 30 days, roughly, and then you're paying it back if you have the money, of course. But when you get into debt, you start paying interest on the other side of the fence. So the goal is to stay on the borrowing for 30 days and borrowing their money at no charge. So part of that is understanding budgeting, but understanding how to handle money properly without getting further in debt. And then understanding old debt is not made alike. You have different types of debt. Just because one rate says 9% doesn't mean it's worse than a rate of 3%, because the 3% might be paid in a different way, or amortization versus simple interest. So when you look at these items, someone's not telling you that. You just see a number and you go, why would I pay 9 versus 3?
Yes. It's very simple to do. It's very easy.
Yeah, but at 9%, for those of you who do have a home, 9% on a home equity line of credit is simple interest, level interest. When you get a 3% mortgage, you're starting at about 58% interest because you're paying heavily on your amortization. So no debt is alike. And sometimes the rate does not matter. And that's part of that education. So it's understanding that there are things that most people just accept as right, but it's the bank's plan. It's not your plan.
Because they're constantly, have a wheel, so to speak, right? And they're like collecting all the interest payments on the back end.
But it's the same thing on a mortgage side. If I called you up and said, hey, I can refinance you and lower %, although it may free up discretionary monthly monies because the payments are lower, I pushed you out farther. So it's a question, what are you doing with that money? Are you paying off other debt, or are you just having fun with it? But now you push your debt out further because now you're paying even a higher rate, even though I lowered your rate, because you start over on that amortization cycle.
So when you say like a higher rate, are you talking more of like on the interest rates, like on the back end of interest rates that you don't really see?
Like if I had someone who calls me up and says they're at 6%, and let's say the market, which it is not as we're filming, 4%, and I lower them to 4%. I lower their rate, but if they can afford that higher payment, I would have them make that payment stay on their current amortization schedule. But most people will pay the lower amount that they get on the monthly statement. So in doing that, you went back from 22 years into your loan back to 30 years. And when you go back to 30 years, you're starting with mostly interest again. So you're going down a cycle where you're paying a lot of interest, and with changing tax laws, you're not getting all the benefits of that, more than likely. So there's all these things to look into that most people just go, oh, should I have done that? And it's already after they did it.
I see.
So it's asking the right questions, but also having the right professionals on your team. And I talk about that all the time. And I'll give the analogy as I do. You have to have the right offensive line protecting you against the defense. You let the defense in, now your client or yourself is a scrambling quarterback. And you can't get that play done correctly.
Yes.
So it's protecting yourself, but learning how debt relates to you. So everyone's debt's different.
Yes.
Student loans, as you said. People have forbearances. People, now all of a sudden they bought a car because they weren't making a student loan payment. Now they have a car and a student loan payment. So now they don't know what to do. So it's getting their debt in order to allow them to make those larger decisions.
I see. That's great. And you just said, with so many different approaches to debt management, it can be overwhelming to know where to start. And what are some of the most simple, effective strategies that they can implement today?
Yeah. A lot of people hear what's more popular. It's like debt snowball, debt avalanche, pay off your lowest credit card first, pay off the highest interest rate first. And a lot of that builds momentum because it shows that you've accomplished something. So it gives you the warm and fuzzy. But it's not necessarily the most or the best approach because it doesn't necessarily get the right number at the right time for the right reason. Some people will take their mortgage payment, round it up to the nearest 100 and pay a little extra or pay one extra payment, or they'll do various things, which is good. They're doing something. But something that I've adopted was it's a perfect financial GPS program. That program allows someone smarter in the room than both you and me and many others combined that doesn't talk back to you.
I love that.
It's a great relationship, right?
Yes.
It's somebody who gives you perfect advice that you can listen to or not, but it will tell you how to get back on path, very much like the GPS in your car, or in your phone. When you put that in and it starts talking to you, telling you to go straight and you miss the turn.
Yes.
Then it says recalculate and tells you how to get back on path. If you had something like that for your finances, that would be better. Because when's the last time you reached in your glove compartment and pulled out a roadmap out of your dash? No, no one does that anymore.
Not since the Thomas Guide
Well,
days.
then you went to that, and then, oh, I got this. But no.
Yeah.
So if you have that perfect roadmap, knowing the hiccups in between when you have all your ins of your income, all your outs of your expenses, including gas, water, power, electric, your annual, all those items.
So your lifestyle.
Yeah. And it's adopting that to you. What we're showing the results, we're showing that as little as a third to half the time to pay off all your debt, becoming debt free. And that's door number one, is your bank's plan. Door
Yes.
number two is paying off debt. Door number three, creating wealth. And that's when they have room then to buy real estate. They have the time then to add to their portfolio. All these things are done in a certain path, but most people will jump to the top of the ladder, and now it's like an acrobat trying to balance, and the life becomes a bad balancing act. So the goal is to bring it to a point where you can get somewhere sooner, but do it in the right steps to have a good foundation. And that's what some of this education, and particularly, it does.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, because you have to have the foundation in order to, get to the next.
But a lot of people want to go to the end of the story and start at the end rather than go through those stages. So they end up
Because
over
they think
here.
it's easier.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they didn't have the foundation blocks, and then all of a sudden they got something collapsing on the other side.
Yeah.
And those are those experts say you have to declare bankruptcy before you're successful. Anyhow.
That's another one. That's another segment. And also credit scores, right?
Yeah.
They play a huge role in financial world.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key factors that impact credit scores, and what can someone take as steps in order to improve their credit?
Well, first of all, there's three different scores. First of all, there's three bureaus, but there's three scores that you see. You have a consumer score that you may get right from your credit card statement. Sometimes now the score's on there and you go, oh, my score is, great. Or, oh, it went up 2 points. Oh, you're not doing good. It went down 5 points. That's your consumer score, which is different from a car score, which is different from a mortgage score. The mortgage score generally is a lower score than those other two. So when someone says, oh, my credit score is 712, maybe I'm thinking they're 690-ish, but it gives me an idea of where they are.
Yeah.
And then I try to dive into it. Now, a lot of what people do, they use their cards, but they're not using them properly to get the best result. And a lot of times people will have 5 credit cards, let's say. And let's say each one of them has a $5,000 credit limit. And one of them they owe $4,900 and the other 4 they owe 0. Their score is going to be lower than the person who owes $1,000 on each of them, because one's showing credit responsibility and one shows they're at their maximum, even though they have the other available. Now, some people, oh, well, gosh, I'm not using those 4. I'll just close those accounts.
Yeah.
That's not good either, because then your credit availability goes away.
I see.
So there's ways to not manipulate, but manipulate your credit score to gain the best results, because your score determines how much you pay for money that you're borrowing. A lower score, more expensive, you're higher risk. Higher score, you get less. It sounds kind of inverted there, because if you got a lower score, you have credit difficulties, you have financial problems, but then they're going to charge you more. And it's like push you down the hill.
Yeah.
And if you, oh, gee, I have no problems, my credit score is great, well, we'll give you cheaper money. Well, it sounds odd, but it makes sense to one degree, but it sounds kind of odd in another way. So my goal is to try to raise people's scores to the next level when they're borrowing for homes, but also when they use this debt elimination type program that I was talking about, the Money Max account, that is also improving credit, because it's freeing up your discretionary and lowering your debt. And when you lower your debt, your score goes up, your borrowing and leveraging is improving, you're able to buy property or do the things you want to do.
Yeah, but then also I would think emotionally it'll make you feel good.
It helps you sleep better at night.
Yeah, you're not crunching numbers in your head.
And also at night, where's that coming from? Oh my God. Well, no, because everything now is more free flow, but you're also not, oh my gosh, the Excel spreadsheet, oh, that yellow sticky that I had over here. Because everything is in one location that's protected, because your name's not there, your account numbers aren't there, no one's touching your money, but you have accountability. You have a financial partner, or someone is your accountability partner. and it makes you feel good because you have someone that you were not able to go to before because you have support, but you also have this tool that's very powerful and it saves you time.
Yeah.
And if your time is valuable as it is for me, you, and others, you could do the things you want to do rather than sit there and scratch your head.
And let everything else accrue over time.
Yeah, because this thing makes decisions like that incredible. I thought I was doing well because I'm in finance. I took 26.4 years of my life in debt. Personally, I was taking it down to 12.3. Fantastic. Through the program, it took me down to 7.9 years to be debt-free.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that additional
like
4 years plus was 6 figures. I have to get out of my own way and get over myself.
Yeah.
It made total sense. So I'm also a product of utilizing the same system.
I see.
Because why wouldn't I save 6 figures?
Yeah, no, I get it. I understand. I'm sure a lot of people would like to save money.
Yeah. So if you want to save money, this is where you start.
Yeah.
So life evolves. So you
Gotcha.
have to have that open mind. We're working with people out of college all the way up to my oldest client was 80. So we can help all shapes, forms, and where you are in your life.
Fabulous. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge as always. And I'm excited.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for everyone else in their journey because it really makes a difference once you start.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Mike, for being here. Today, I'm thrilled to sit down with co-owner Janet Lee to talk about the history of Fair Oaks Burger, its impact on the community, and how it continues to be a beloved gathering place. So, Janet, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting us.
Yes, and I love the fact that, it's family owned and you and your sister Christy pretty much run the operations of the business.
We do.
Awesome. So, because of Fair Oaks Burger has been a part of the Altadena community for nearly, 4 decades
Yep.
now, can you take us back to the beginning and how this restaurant really came to be and what inspired your family to open it?
Well, I mean, we come from an immigrant family. So my parents immigrated here from Korea and basically had the opportunity to start restaurants. And they were kind of, it's not really a term, but like a restaurant flipper. And they would buy restaurants and make them successful and flip it for money. And then they got the opportunity to buy Fair Oaks Burger, including the land. And they fell in love with the community. And they said, this is going to be where we stay. And that's where we've been for 40 years now. And my sister and I, seeing our parents' hard work and getting to know the community. Because like my little sister, she was babysat by the woman 2 doors down from the restaurant. So it just has a special meaning for us. And that's why we've been, doing restaurant work for 40 years.
Yeah, but also giving back to the community as
Absolutely.
well, which I absolutely love. And so one thing that makes, Fair Oaks Burger so special is its connection to the community.
Yeah.
So how have you seen the restaurant evolve and grow alongside with the people of Altadena?
Well, I mean, we know so much about everybody because Altadena is very small, even though it's a big city. It's very small. Everybody knows each other, and we know so many families from their grandmothers to their aunts to their cousins to the new babies. So I feel like we grew up with everybody there. So that's probably why it feels like such a community to us.
I see such a home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we've seen businesses really step up in times of crisis, and Fair Oaks Burger is no exception. During the recent Eaton fire, you and your team provided meals for those affected. Can you share what that experience was like and, what motivated you to take the action?
Well, at first we were in shock, and
Yeah.
then a woman approached us about using our parking lot to do distributions for people that are still in the area that need shelf-stable food, water, hot meals.
Yeah.
So she put us in contact with World Central Kitchen, and they've been able to give us the opportunity to give out hot meals while they provide all the essential needs for people that are still in the area or that or any Altadena resident, that's even if they're not in Altadena. So it just seemed like the right thing to do, considering we couldn't really open the restaurant, but might as well use the parking lot to do something good for the community.
So, and beyond the disaster relief, Fair Oaks Burger has a long history of giving back. Could you tell us some of the other ways you've supported the communities over the years?
Well, anytime there's a lot of schools there, so anytime a school has any kind of need or a function, we've always offered free food to the teachers and to parents for fundraisers. We want to be a bit more, now that we realize after doing all this how inspiring it is and how grateful we are for the opportunity. We want to give back more to the community as it grows. But for the most part, we've given out free food to any library events and anything in the community. Just we try to help as much as we can.
Yeah, I feel that just from just sitting right here. I feel the love. I feel the energy. So local businesses, they play such an important role in shaping our community. And looking ahead, what are your hopes for Fair Oaks Burger, and how do you see it continuing to serve Altadena in the future?
I mean, already I feel that even with our farmers market, like for instance today that we had, it was great because Altadena has always been about family, and it was nice to see all these young children there and just people, just families gathering, getting their, fruits and veg and coming by to get a breakfast burrito from us. It just felt normal. And I hope that continuing forward, whether hopefully the farmers market will continue. They said that it's hopefully forever. And that
I love farmers market,
right. It's amazing, and it's free.
Them.
So it's great. I just hope that when the community, as it starts to get back to normal, that we're still part of it and that we're a fun, family-friendly place that we've always been. And I hope it continues to stay that way.
So your dishes, you do more than just burgers.
Yeah, it's a hodgepodge.
Yeah,
I
noticed that.
What is this?
No,
right?
I was on your Instagram. I was looking at the website. I'm like, oh my God, she does that. They do that. They do this.
It can be overwhelming to people because they're like, there's just too much. It's kind of like Cheesecake Factory where there's just too many options. But it started because my parents, when we first opened, we had a hamburger shop, but Altadena at the time didn't have a lot of variety of other foods, and so they're like, well, why can't you make Mexican food? We're like, all right. And then they're like, you guys are Asian. Why can't you make Asian food? We're like, okay. And that's why the menu is what it is today. Yeah. Just because if there's a need and if we have the ingredients or if we can make it, we'll do it. So
fabulous. Thanks. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Janet, for being here and sharing your story and also with Christy and everything with your family.
Yeah, we just want to continue to have people remember that Altadena is still here and not to forget about
strong,
That's
baby.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. So thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. Now, let's take a closer look inside with exclusive footage from Everything Pasadena Media.
Hey everybody, Joey B, Everything Pasadena. I'm here at Fair Oaks Burger for the turnout that they're having at the community, excuse me. Who am I standing with?
Janet Lee and Christy Lee.
And what are you guys doing here today?
We're giving out free breakfast burritos, and we're also having a rally for Altadena Not For Sale with My Tribe Rise. We're also offering a free farmers market to the community, which we're going to continue to do moving forward, minus the free food and the rally.
And I just want to put on record that they're an icon in the community. They're really about the community. They're for the community. And they show a whole lot of love to this community as they are a part of this community. So I'm Pastor Anthony McFarland. You can write that down and you can cash that as a fact for the history of Altadena.
Oh, thank you.
You heard it here, live.
That's right.
So can I ask you, ladies, what are some of the next things you'd like to see happen for the community of Altadena?
Well, first of all, we want to see hopefully most of our neighbors again, because we're hoping that they rebuild and stay in the community. I mean, we know that it can't be 100%, but it'd be nice to see at least 70%, right? And this is why we're having the event like today, just so that we can all still feel a sense of community, because I think everyone's been displaced for the past couple of months, and we need events like this to just to remind us that, you know, we are one big family here in Altadena, and we want to keep it that way.
So, can I ask you also, what does Altadena, and I guess Pasadena too, what does it mean for you too?
It's been my home for the past, 13 years, and I love Altadena.
And that's a wrap on another inspiring episode of the Selling with Lori show. And we hope today's conversation with Michael Harris gave you valuable insights into managing your financial future with confidence. And of course, a huge thank you to Christy and Janet Lee from Fair Oaks Burger for reminding us how vital local businesses are in the heart of a community. And if you haven't visited Fair Oaks Burger yet, you're missing out. Be sure to stop by and support this amazing family-run business that has given so much to Altadena. And stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll continue to bring stories that matter and expert insights that can help you navigate homeownership, real estate, and community living. Until next time, take care and keep thriving. Bye.